Welcome to Leadership Unfiltered, the podcast where real leaders get real about what it takes to succeed in today's fast-paced corporate world. I'm Dr. Dayan Douse, founder and president of P.R.I.D.E Consulting, a human behavior and development company serving as an executive coach and facilitator, working with organizations to deliver practical ways to evolve teams, advance organizations, and transform cultures. I hold a PhD in organization and management with over 2 decades of leadership experience in Fortune 500 companies. And I'm best-selling co-author of the book, Nothing But Net. I'm joined by my co-host, Phillip Smith. Phillip is a seasoned technology executive with extensive experience leading large-scale engineering teams and driving digital transformation. Over his 25 years of leadership experience, he has held multiple roles from supervisor to vice president. His personal brand is coder by blood, architect by trade, and leader by choice. Every episode will deliver real-world strategies, unfiltered advice, and the tools you'll need to take your leadership to the next level. Let's get started.
All right, welcome. Our topic for today is what it means to be an authentic leader. In today's world where there's so many curated topics and complications and what leaders have to deal with, being authentic is critical. But it's also difficult. It can be difficult, again, because of so many things that leaders today have to deal with, the complexities of their job, that they have to make sure they pay attention to their authenticity. And so we want to talk a little bit today about what it means to be an authentic leader and how you show up being authentic. And what that really means is, how do you be honest? How do you show up as yourself when it is complex, when it is tough decisions that need to be made and a lot of eyes are on you? How do you stand in your own truth? And it doesn't mean being perfect. It really is all about being honest about who you are and the decisions that you need to make, from a place that is from your core of who you are. So that's our topic for today.
Awesome. Authenticity is incredibly valuable. It allows you to build real connections with people, and it's so important to hold on to who you are, because leadership is not for the faint of heart.
Right.
And you definitely aren't doing it for the money, because it doesn't pay enough, but you're doing it because there is value that you have that is best served horizontally across the organization than vertically with just your hands. And so authenticity is a key component of leadership, because it really allows you to maximize that horizontal influence that you're going to need as a leader. At the same time, corporate America and capitalism requires you to not be your 100% self 100% of the time.
Yes.
And that creates the dichotomy, which is, there's a bit of show, there's a bit of projection, there's a bit of selling that happens, and at the same time, you can't have that compromise who you are, because you become an ineffective leader.
Yeah.
So finding that balance between understanding, yes, there's a job to do that requires sometimes for you to not be 100% who you are all the time, but hold on to the core so that you can remain authentic. And I think when you said it's not about perfection, and that's that line that you have to walk. And so I'll speak from my own personal experience, which is being in the closet as a gay man requires a skill set, which is holding multiple realities simultaneously. You have to hold the reality that you are straight and behave as such. And you also have to hold on to the reality that you aren't. And that skill set is very valuable because it allows you to place yourself in other people's shoes much more easily. It allows you to connect to people and meet them where they're at, because their reality is very different from yours, and you're already holding two. Authenticity can come into play when you are able to honor all of those realities. And so for me, coming out of the closet really helped me. It really helped me be my more authentic self more of the time, and at the same time understand that there's still a role that I have to play. Not to the point where you are faking it, but to the point where you acknowledge the additional roles and responsibilities that come along with being a leader. And you find there's compassion for yourself in terms of that evolution of coming to terms with your authentic self, and compassion for others who are on that journey, regardless of what that journey may be about. Mm-hmm. It's a tricky balancing act that you have to do. Now, there is the school of thought that says, well, no, you should be able to be your 100% authentic self 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And that will work for some people. It can work if you are in the majority and you are not inside an underrepresented group. It can definitely work if you have money and power. It's harder to make that work when you don't have money and power and when you are part of a marginalized group. It's harder to be your 100% authentic self 100% of the time because there's a cost to it. For me, and I've been growing in my authenticity as I've gotten older, is that you have to find a way that it works for you. Find the places where it works for you. And if you find yourself in a space where that the role that you have to play encroaches on your authenticity, then you're not in the right spot.
That's good.
That's a good indication of when it may be time to find a different opportunity. I have been lucky in that as I've grown in my authenticity that I'm comfortable with. Because again, authenticity is an act of vulnerability.
Yes.
And as I've grown in my authenticity and my willingness to be vulnerable with a larger and larger group of people, I've been really lucky in that they, for the most part, have been genuinely accepting. Which also, as a leader, you're not only growing your own authenticity, you're also responsible for helping grow your team's authenticity.
Yes.
And that is a big responsibility and allows you to see from both sides of the mirror. That's something special.
Yeah. Wow, you said a lot that sparked a lot of thought. Thank you for that. One thing that you said that sparked some thought for me was vulnerability. And you talked about marginalized groups. So I'm going to say it more plainly. As a black man in corporate America, you hear words like code switching. There's a mask that I wear so that I'm not vulnerable. Those marginalized groups have to play dual roles. So all of those thoughts came to mind as you were sharing what vulnerability or authenticity meant to you. And I thought there are times when I haven't been the other word that came to mind was courageous. So when I am courageously authentic, that is when I can take the mask off, when I am not code switching, and I am just, and it didn't matter the room I was in, the people that were in that room, because I was courageous. Now what it took for me to take the mask off, to not be code switching, was maturity. Was maybe someone else in that room who gave me that courage. But over time, as I matured, I have come to realize it's not about impressing other people, getting people to like me, or saying things or doing things that I think other people want from me. That is when I'm not being authentic, because I am just playing to the crowd. Now, of course, if you're, trying to sell something or trying to, get something across. You may feel like you need to do that. Again, in my maturity, you're just going to take it or leave it. It's okay if I don't make the sale. It's okay if I don't make the point. Don't want is to walk out of that room not feeling like I didn't make the sale or I didn't make my point because I wasn't courageously authentic. I can accept not getting what I wanted if I was courageously authentic in doing so. If I didn't get what I want and I wasn't courageously authentic, that's a double fail. I prefer now in my maturity to just be courageously authentic, no matter the room, no matter the setting. And if I don't get what I wanted, I'm okay with that. What I don't want is to not be courageously authentic. And then just the flip side of now I'm aware of when I'm not, because things show up for me. I'm more passive when I'm not courageously authentic. Mm-hmm. I'm quiet. Mm-hmm. I just kind of sit back and observe. That's not my courageous, authentic self. So there are things that I'm becoming aware of that I can catch sooner to say, wait a minute, this isn't how I want to show up, right? And so
the point that you're making about, I love the framing of courageously authentic. Mm-hmm. Side commentary. It's a sad commentary that it requires courage to be authentic.
Yes.
It's such a sad commentary, but it's real.
Yes.
It's absolutely real. What is, given that I am so good at wearing a mask. I was so good at wearing the mask, I didn't even know I had one on.
Yes.
The maturity comes in terms of, one, realizing you're wearing one.
Yes.
And then learning how to take it off.
Yes.
Which does require courage.
Yes.
And which is why I want to kind of moderate the be your 100% self 100% of the time. Because in order to do that and remain successful requires maturity.
Yes.
Which is why I see folks on these 30-second reels saying you need to be 100% yourself 100% of the time. I'm like, that requires additional context in order to do that successfully in corporate America.
Yes.
It requires additional context to do that successfully as a leader.
Yes.
Because there are parts of your authentic self that you cannot come in as and remain successful. We've talked about it in another episode, which is time traveling. Like, as a leader, you cannot time travel.
Yes.
But your authentic self may absolutely want to do that.
Yes.
And so, while, yes, we should absolutely be courageously authentic, we have to moderate that with the context of the situation. And I know that's a nuanced conversation. And a journey that I continue to be on, because I hear and I agree, you have that courage to be authentic. I've seen you do it. And I'm constantly throwing that up against, am I jaded? Is my perspective on what I just said about the nuance and the context, is that due to my own experience in terms of the mask that I've had to wear? Because I know, with a capital K, that given my own trauma, there were times when I showed up as my 100% authentic self, and it was the wrong answer.
Yes. Yes.
Where the distance between my brain and my mouth was too short.
Yes.
Was it authentic? Yes, it was.
Yes.
Was it helpful? Was it appropriate? No.
Right. Yes.
And so I've had to learn the discipline
That's good.
and the maturity that comes along with being authentic. Because you just can't throw up on people and call it, well, this is just me being authentic.
Right.
You don't get to do that.
No.
And that's why I love having this conversation.
Yes.
Because it's such an important conversation, specifically from a leadership perspective, which is your authenticity is incredibly valuable, and and allows you to connect with people, but it requires maturity and discipline to do it effectively.
Yes.
So that you get the outcomes that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point, because you still have to be professional.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to be respectful, and being authentic doesn't mean you get to trample over everybody else's opinion, everybody else's perspective, the culture. You don't get to do those things. And there's a way to do both.
Both,
right?
yes.
To be respectful and professional, committed, and still be authentic, right? I think about not just what you say, but also how you show up, right? Folks that show up, hair is a wonderful way to be authentic. Your authentic self, right? Particularly for African American, our community, love our hairstyles.
Yes.
Right? They are authentic to who we are and where we come from. But that sometimes does not show up in corporate America the way we would like it to authentically show up.
Yes.
And so you will hear people who are code switching, who are wearing a mask say, you might want to change your hair color. You might want to change your hairstyle. You might want to do this to fit in. But I think more and more of our authentic self as a people are starting to show up in corporate America in courageous ways.
Yes.
Because we are showing that we are still respectful. We
Yes.
are still professional. We
Yes.
are talented.
Yes.
And we are contributing language and our look.
Yes.
And so I love that. But it's going to take more us doing that, of us having these types of conversation to point out, I am still a major player and contributor in this space, even though I may show up a little bit different than what you have seen or expected. I need you to see me different. And so, loving that we're having those conversations. I wanted to point out that there's a physical courage.
Yes.
That shows up in the way we dress and look. And it's not just African Americans. I look at my Indian brothers and sisters and the beautiful, beautiful attire that they show up in. I love that. That's authentic to them. That's authentic to their culture. And so I just love that. We've talked about DEI on other episodes, that this being courageously authentic shows up in that space. That's what it's about, right? It's being open to different perspectives and backgrounds and cultures, and that we can all contribute in a meaningful way and still be authentic.
I really like that. That's good in terms of pulling apart appearance from, and I'm going to put words in your mouth, the behaviors.
Yes.
I absolutely agree in terms of appearance, like showing up as your authentic self. I remember having 2 distinct conversations about dreadlocks.
That we shouldn't call dread. We should just call them locks now.
Yes. Thank you. But when we were having the conversation, that I said, well, because I was getting ready to hire this person. Coming out of the interview, my other interview panelee said, well, she has dreadlocks. Okay.
Yes.
I was like, well, that's not very professional. And it was a very interesting, because I'm the hiring leader, going, help me understand. I was like, well, that's not a professional hairstyle. In what way? It didn't even register for me. Because her hair was clean. It was well groomed.
Yeah.
What part of that made it unprofessional? And I couldn't get a good answer from my fellow panelee. And it was very interesting. Another conversation I had was, oddly enough, about a white guy who had shoulder length hair. Conversation about his progression. It's like, well, if he's taking leadership seriously, this was the conversation we were having in the room, and well, if he's taking leadership seriously, he should cut his hair. it struck me like how much built-in conformity is expected from leaders. I completely agree, is that your physical appearance, as long as it's well-groomed, should be off limits.
Yes.
But we know that it's not.
It's not. That's right.
And that's where it takes courage. And I respect the white man who said, if that's the bar, in order for me to become a leader at this company, it's not for me. That's
courage.
Courage.
Yes.
That's courage. Like if you're saying in order for me to be an effective leader, I have to have short hair.
Right.
You can have it.
Right. Yes.
And I was like, bravo.
Yes.
Bravo.
Yes.
I completely agree with that. But the other piece of that, it's those behaviors though. Like if you're being respectful, right? If you're being professional in terms of your behaviors, because everyone has a perspective of what professional means from an appearance perspective.
Right.
But from your behaviors perspective, you're respectful. You are, not only being inclusive, but creating a sense of belonging with people, right? Then I'm with you. But I also understand that there are times when you want something and you are willing to compromise your authenticity in order to get it.
Yeah.
I'll speak for my own self. I've done it.
Yes.
And there have been times when it was the wrong answer.
Yes.
That was the wrong answer. And honestly, there have been times when it was the right one. Because once I got it, I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
But on whole, right, I would say it's typically not worth it. But, I'm definitely much more of a practical person in terms of if I have an objective that I need to achieve, I can weigh the pros and costs from a practical perspective and say, okay, am I willing to yield here in order to get my outcome? There are times when I'll yield. But if that's the default, right, if the expectation is that you're always yielding, that's not the right answer.
No.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And I'm with you. I've absolutely yielded, not been my authentic self to try to achieve an objective. And I look back now and wish I had not.
Mm-hmm.
I met the objective, I got what I wanted, and I said, ooh, that was good. My mature self now, and I don't know what would happen if I would have stayed in my authenticity. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten it. But while I achieved that objective, I lost some of myself. And in my maturity, I'm learning who my authentic self is, what that means to be authentic, both personally and professionally. And that means I show up with my core, which for me, new learning is peace and harmony in every place that I go. And I want that for everybody in the room. And when I can't achieve that, I'm not being my authentic self. And I felt like putting on the mask meant that wasn't valued. And so I put on the mask thinking people don't really care in this particular setting about peace and harmony. They're just trying to get a deliverable done. And so I put on the mask to say, well, that's not valued, so I'll go with the rest of the group. And I wish I hadn't. Because where that peace and harmony showed up for me as a leader was focusing on people and not the deliverable, because my belief is that if the people follow me as an authentic leader, we'll achieve the deliverable. Not deliverable first. It was people first, which is how my authenticity showed up. And that's why I believe people really follow leaders, is when they see the authenticity. They see who you are, and that shows up. They are excited to follow you, right? Because people can see.
Yes.
As much mask as you think you're wearing, everybody else around you, particularly those who know you and have been around you long enough, they know when you're not being authentic.
Yes.
And nobody wants to follow that.
Yes.
But when you show up in a situation that's tough and sometimes against the grain, but you are being authentic, that's when people, my opinion, truly respect you.
And I absolutely agree with that. People can tell. I mean,
Yes.
even if they can't articulate it,
Yes.
they can feel it.
Yes.
And you gave me something just now in terms of the difference between the two situations for me. The times when I've absolutely regretted compromising my authenticity. And those are the times where it wasn't in alignment, not with the goal, but with my values.
Yes.
So not only did I compromise my authenticity, I also compromised on my values.
Yes.
Now, the times when I compromised on my authenticity, it was in alignment with my values. And that's when I was like, I'm okay with that. That yield, I'm good with that yield. And I hadn't made that connection until you said what you just said. I was like, oh, that's what it was. Because my yield was a sacrifice, which I gave without an expectation of return.
Yes.
I said, I will yield here on my authenticity for you. Not for that. Not for the thing. Not for the goal. Not for the objective. But for you.
Yes.
So thank you
That's good.
for that.
Yeah. This has been an excellent conversation.
Yes.
We probably need to do a part 2.
Yes.
Because we need to talk more about what teams get out of following or having an authentic leader.
Yes.
Right? Because we've been part of teams
Yes.
where you've had an authentic leader and it is the best.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll talk about that
Yes.
in another episode. But a recap. So we talked in this episode about being an authentic leader and what that means and how you show up. We pulled apart behaviors versus appearance, and that you can be authentic in both. We talked about being courageously authentic and what it means to be courageous in your authenticity. We talked about what it means to not be authentic, and whether that's pleasing or just being, playing the game, code switching, all of those things, wearing a mask, those things show up when you're not being authentic. The takeaway here is, as best you can, when it aligns and you keep your values, be authentic, because those around you know when you're being authentic and when you're not, and your teams know that as well.
Yes.
The best leaders are those who can be authentic. And so with that, we will see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Leadership Unfiltered. We hope you have found value in our conversation and are ready to take action in your leadership journey. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, share, and leave us a review. And don't forget to connect with us on social media for more leadership insights and resources. Until next time, keep leading with purpose.